Namaste. Today I want to introduce a new thread in the channel, that is the world of books. All through my career and maybe even during my education, which possibly is true for everyone also, but at least all through my career, the primary source of my learning has been books. And the time when I started my career, of course, as I had earlier said, there was no World Wide Web, there was no YouTube, there was no internet collection of resources that one could do, and of course, there was not even a Google search. So you couldn't, the net was largely useless for the purpose of knowledge acquisition or learning. And the primary source was the well-equipped library that we had at NCST. The library was very focused on our areas of work, that is AI, networking, computer graphics, and a few general books was the collection. But in those areas, it had an excellent collection. And we made sure that we looked at most of the books in our relevant collection. Many of them even we have read also. And this is actually started from my school days. We had no access to a library, the little village that it has been, where I have been born and where I did my school education. School had some library, but it was barely accessible for any practical purpose. So textbooks and teachers' instruction was primarily the only source of knowledge there. So if you get a hold of anything to read, whether it is a page from a magazine or so if you get a page from a magazine or even a paper that is used to wrap, grocery material in those days. Remember, again, there was no plastic carry bags in those days that you can ask for. So most items, whether it is rice or dal or whatever, they all used to wrap it up in newspapers. They used to provide a little bit of extra reading than what was available in the textbooks. And when we started visiting my father in Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu during the vacation, that was a treasure house because they had a Malayali library which primarily stocked Malayalam books. But so the 1 month or 1.5 months that we were there, every library opening day, which is I think twice a week, I would be there picking up a book and trying to read in the next 1 or 2 days so that I can pick up another one in the next slot. So that was a great opportunity. I think I could read a lot of things. I still remember the Freedom at Midnight, the Malayalam translation, and they were all very, very educative books. In Mumbai, as I said, the NCST library was good. It had a lot of connection, but there was very little general books. So for that, again in Matunga there was a Malayali library, so I used to take a membership there and pick up a few books. But of course, work started getting heavier, so general reading almost stopped. Then came an opportunity to register at ACM Computing Reviews, and I didn't miss that opportunity. I registered, and every year at least a couple of books I would review for them, and I get to keep the book. That was the reward. So there is no monetary reward, but that was a great reward because a lot of interesting books I was able to get, which would have costed a lot of money in the process. So, and compared to going and attending any training programs or anything, I prefer reading books to learn subjects. And why that is important is that if you want to get a comprehensive picture of any subject, the only real source is to read a book. Ideally, not read one book, but read 2 or 3 books in the same area by different authors, and you can actually get different perspectives. And that was a very instructive experience. I particularly remember this one when I was teaching the data structures course. When I started, we started with the Tenenbaum's book, a big book, very detailed, but a lot of questions remained unanswered. So the next year when I taught the book, the syllabus and for the student, the same book continued, but I took a different book. I think I don't remember who the author is. And the third year I took yet another book. When I read these 3, 4 books, almost end to end, covering the topics that we were covering in the class, I had a much better perspective of that field. And I think today I can speak about data structures and algorithms. You wake me up from sleep, I can do that. So I think that depth came from that faced reading, that is reading from different authors. And that is, I think, and all the technology, and I got remarked that whatever the technology that I have learned in my graduation days have long become outdated since. And there's so much I needed to pick up, from object-oriented programming to web technologies to all the recent languages and many developments in parallel processing and so on, so on, so on. They all came up later. And the way I kind of kept in touch was basically by picking up books and reading through most of them. So this is something I feel is missing today. People feel that going to Google or going to some relevant website or typing in a keyword and picking up my page or so from there is learning. It doesn't actually become learning, because you don't actually connect with it. You don't understand the different aspects of whatever that bit that you are learned from those searches. So to understand in context, to position what you are learning in the overall context of that subject, a book is the right source to do. So my advice is that make it a habit to read at least 2 or 3 books a year, and read it from cover to cover, because one of the things that I will enjoy reading is the acknowledgement section or the preface section. It gives you the author's perspective and also little anecdotes and things about how he came out to write the book and so on, which is not necessarily essential from a technical point of view from the coverage to understand the coverage, but still give you a little different perspective on what you are reading. So that is what it is. So, over the years for the ACM, I have reviewed almost 50 odd books, all technical, and that's a good collection that I have. These days, of course, they send e-books instead of hard copy books, but still they are still useful. And in addition, of course, books that you acquire here and there. So that, I think that has been is something that I would recommend that you adopt, that reading a book should become a part of your daily routine, or at least weekly routine, and cover at least 2 or 3 books every year. So, and in the sequence with this preface, I wanted to talk about some books which I have come across, which has interested me. So it's not about motivation per se. It is about some book that inspires you, something that kind of thing. So I'll talk about a few books along the way. And one particularly interesting section to keep an eye on is biographies. Compared to all this so-called personality development books saying that how to avoid procrastination, how to get up in time, how to do your work in time, all the general advice which I don't believe in at all. When you listen to a person who has reached somewhere, who has achieved something significant, look at their hardships and what all things he went through, how did he reach there. That is far more inspiring and far more driving than any of these general books. So biographies is something that I would recommend that you read, depending on your area. You pick up read biographies of people who are in your area. But anyway, so going further, I'll introduce you a few books that I have come across, which has left a good mark in my mind, and why it has done that. So happy reading. And today is Teachers' Day, so all the more relevant that I could talk about this today. Thank you. Bye.